Hey guys, and welcome back to this week's video where I'm actually going to be going over my favorite ab exercises, which is something different for a change. When I actually first started training nearly 7 years ago now, one of the most important things to me at that time was to have abs. Now, back then, I was always a very skinny person. I did have a naturally fast metabolism. I wasn't by any means healthy. I was able to eat back then around 2,300 calories a day, and I was able to stay skinny. So that actually all changed later once I messed with my metabolism a few too many times. But to the point I am making is that yes, you must be lean or have a low body fat percentage to be able to see your abs, but you'll also have to train them, you know, if you want to grow them just like any other muscle so that they will pop. Okay, so back on track. When I first started training, abs were important to me, so I tested out a lot of different ab exercises back then. I tried the basics, I tried the super complex ones, I've tried them all, you name it. And out of all of the ab exercises that I did try, that I have actually picked 5 for you guys today, and for a few good reasons. Firstly, like any exercise out there, form and technique is extremely important. Now, you might think that it's hard to mess up an ab crunch, but the reality is, you would be surprised. For example, one of the exercises that I love, but I've actually left out today, is the hanging leg raise. Now, if you don't have your technique 100% on point for this one, you'll be engaging your hip flexors, okay? And I would say that 99% of people that I see at the gym are doing this, okay? So that's what we want to avoid. So if your favorite ab exercise didn't make my video today, it's not that I don't like it or it doesn't work or anything like that, but you know, some of the more advanced ones can actually take a lot of practice and a lot of even basic core strength to really master. So these exercises will actually give you the ability to build the abs that you want. Maybe you want the V down the side, you know, some people do, some people don't, and it takes less technique to get right without recruiting other muscles like your hip flexors or your lower back. Okay, so in no particular order, let's get right into it. The first exercise we've got here today is the bench knee tuck. So you can use a bench, a box, a park bench. If your couch is firm enough, you can use that too. Anything that really allows you to bring your legs over the side and for you to be able to lean back. Okay, so hand positioning for this one is, you know, pretty adaptable, and it really depends on your comfort. If you're doing this on a bench, you'll be able to use your hands to hold onto the bench and help with the movement, okay? Or a little looser, like you can see here, and that just happens naturally as your stability grows. Now, keep your chin to your chest the whole time to help engage the abs and stop the hip flexors from, you know, overtaking. If you do tend to feel it in your hip flexors, you're just simply not using your core enough. So you do actually want to focus on drawing your belly button down towards your spine, okay, and really drawing your abs down. You'll tilt your pelvis forward, and what I actually mean by that is if you were lying on the ground, you would have a natural arch in your back, okay, if you were relaxed. Now, once you tilt your pelvis back, you'll enhance that arch and you'll create a bigger arch, okay? So tilting it forward, you're actually going to remove that arch and have your complete lower back on the ground. So we want to tilt forward, okay? And imagine that we're removing that natural arch from the back. This will actually help engage your abs instead of your hip flexors or maybe your lower back, which tends to be the case for a lot of people. If even after using these cues, you still notice that you feel it in your lower back or your hip flexors, you may not be quite strong enough yet. So you can skip this one, move on to the other exercises, try those, and then come back to this in a couple of weeks. You'll be really, really surprised how fast your strength grows, particularly in the ab area. Now, I don't know if I created this or whether it has an official name, but I'm going to call it the V-up knee tuck combo. It's similar to the bench knee tuck, but we're adding in a V-up as well. This would have to be one of my favorite out of all of them. So you'll actually want to use similar cues to the bench knee tuck for this one. Keep your pelvis tilted forward. So trying to take that natural arch out of your back, belly button down towards the spine and abs pulled in towards the spine. You can plant your hands on the ground for a little more support and alternate between a V-up and a knee tuck while also bringing your torso up to meet at the same time. Now, when you do decline on this movement, try not to drop your feet or your torso to the ground. You want to keep tension in the abs by keeping them off the ground and keeping your chin tucked into your chest, and make sure that you've got the double chin look happening just like me.
That ointment really works.
Alright, so this is one of the more fun exercises. It's the Russian twist. It's also one of the most versatile, as you can start with really little or actually no weight at all and work your way up from there. You can do heavy with low reps, or you can do light with high reps. On this one, you're going to have your knees bent, and you can either have your feet crossed over or have them side by side. It's just a habit that I have my feet crossed over, and I find more stability for myself. So have a generous lean back with the torso. You will be able to notice that this does actually increase its difficulty. If you're too upright, you might actually struggle to feel it. So either using a plate or a dumbbell or a kettlebell or a ball, your choice, guys. We're simply going to keep our legs in this position while rotating from side to side with the weight that you choose. So touch the weight softly. We don't want to be banging that weight on the ground and using the momentum to bring it up and over. Just nice and soft, and then using your core to bring the weight up and over to the other side. So making sure that we're keeping our core tense throughout the entire movement. Alright guys, next one we've got the side hip dip, okay? As you can see, setting up here on your side with your elbow on the ground. If we start at the top of the movement, we're going to lower down in a controlled motion. Don't go and flop down on the floor like a fish. Make sure that you keep your core engaged throughout the entire movement. Same again, you want to be pulling your belly button in towards your spine. Nice and slow down. You don't have to go all the way down to the floor, and we're focusing here on keeping that time under tension, okay? Then using your strength to push back up again. Slight pause at the top, lowering back down, controlled again. You should feel this in your side obliques, which is just the side of your abs. If you're noticing that you're feeling it in your back, you may not actually be engaging your core quite enough, and just making sure that you're focusing on pulling your abs in towards your spine. Another great one here is the weighted sit-up or the plate sit-up. This is a variation of the standard sit-up, but using the most effective position and making it scalable with the weights makes it one of my top 5. So the setup here for this one, laying back on the ground, knees bent at roughly a 90-degree angle. I'm not getting the measuring tape out, guys, so don't worry too much if it's not 90 degrees, just to give you an idea. We're going to lower down to the ground as per our other exercises. You're probably noticing a pattern by now. Pelvis tilted forward, take the natural arch out of your back so that your whole lower back is flat on the ground. Now, it's important to keep this position through the whole exercise. You can always reset at the bottom of each rep to make sure that you've got it right. Now, plate or weight, the intention here is to keep the most amount of force on your torso here, okay? So if we start with the plate above our face, this will give you the most force or difficult the most difficult to begin with, okay? And as we come up, the plate can shift straight above our head. Now, there's not going to be too much force from the weight at this point in the movement, but the alternate would be to have the plate straight out, which wouldn't provide any resistance or force and would be quite heavy on the shoulders. So really, plate straight up gets it in the best position to not unnecessarily fatigue any other muscles. And also, as soon as we start to lower the plate, we'll shift forward and start adding weight immediately to the decline part of the exercise. Stopping at the bottom if need be to reset and reset your back and core again, okay? So trying your best to use as little momentum as possible. This will only take away from the abs doing the work. Nice and slowly and controlled through the movement will get you the best bang for your buck on this one. So guys, you will notice that you will get quite strong in this one, so increasing the weight as you can. Oh, and keeping the feet firmly planted on the ground here is really, really important through the entire movement, okay? Okay, last one here is a variation of the traditional static plank. Now, let's stop here for a sec and talk quickly about the traditional static or iso plank. I very rarely program a static plank for a client. There's a few reasons without getting too technical for you guys. If you're doing an active plank where you're lengthening and shortening a muscle, you're working through the full range of motion, leading to adaptations throughout the entire muscle instead of just parts of it, which would actually occur in a simple static plank, which creates no change in length, which actually leads to minimal muscle growth, okay? With the active plank variation, you'll see that the muscle will get bigger, okay, which, you know, when even doing abs, that's exactly what we want when it kind of doesn't sound like that's what we want. We want the abs muscles to actually grow in size, just like any other muscle, so that if you're lean or when you get lean, they are pronounced and your core looks good and it's not just skinny, you know. You also want to find that you don't need to be quite as lean before they're noticeable, you know. With the static hold position, this won't grow the muscle in size. Studies actually show that less than 5% increase in strength occurs per week when doing a static plank like this. So the times I will actually program a static hold will be for a beginner. I don't work with too many beginners these days, which may explain why I don't program it very often. But if you're watching this and you're just getting started working out or have been working out for a while but not too much resistance training or haven't really focused on your core, you may need to start with something like a static hold and help build up enough, you know, core strength and then progress to active exercises from there. But by far, for simple muscle growth, the active exercises are where you want to actually invest your time. Okay, looking at the plank variation here, which is the plank hip twist. Everyone calls it something different today. I'm calling it the plank hip twist. We're starting in the normal plank position here, okay? Your core is tight. Now, I feel like an absolute broken record, but it is just as important for this one to squeeze your bum, tilt your hips forward, and take that arch out of your back. In this exercise in particular, this will help you keep your bum up in the air using your core instead of dropping it down and using your back to hold you there, if that makes sense. Now, once you're in this position, we're simply going to shift from side to side, bringing your hips towards the ground. Now, either bring your hip just to the ground or just off the ground. To really, basically, I just want you to focus on your muscle-mind connection, okay? Otherwise, you are actually going to feel it in your lower back and the whole entire exercise is going to be pointless. Now, time to give yourself a big high five, guys, because we are done. I've noted each of the exercises and the time that they appear in this video in the video description. I know you'll thank me later. So next time that you're at the gym, you can open the video and go straight to the exercise that you do want to watch and check your form as you go. Guys, don't be afraid to video yourself completing any exercise, to be honest, and check your form. Even I still do it from time to time to make sure that my technique is spot on and I'm really getting the most out of every exercise. As I said over and over and over again, technique is really, really important, and if you're not quite spot on, you'll be recruiting the wrong muscles and creating incorrect movement patterns, which do long-term end in injury and pain and imbalances and all that stuff that you don't want. If you don't get it right straight away, don't stress and don't give up. Practice really makes perfect. And as long as you're listening to the tips and technique cues from either myself or other professionals that they've given and focusing on your muscle-mind connection, you will get better and better and better. And before you know it, you'll have the abs that you've always wanted. Thanks for watching, guys. Any more tips on exercise, nutrition myths, just about anything really health and fitness related, check out some of my other videos.